All right, good afternoon, everybody. We decided to go for a quick little hike today and put in a couple more miles on the weekend while we can. Weather's not too bad today. It's a little windy, but not as windy as it was last weekend. So I just want to tell you about a hike that we went on last weekend. And we started doing some research looking for a good place to go hiking. And something that was difficult, but not extremely difficult. Not too far to drive from Nebraska. We did find some really cool spots to go hiking over by Laramie Peaks over by Wheatland. We did check out the Little Medicine Falls, little middle fork of the Laramie Falls, and Duck Creek Falls, I believe, is the ones we did research on. While we were researching those, on Duck Creek Falls by Roger Ludwig, that was a very well-written article. I would recommend, if somebody wants to read that. You'll kind of find out what we kind of went through. But we immediately fell in love with this area and decided, why not? Let's do it. It's winter time. We want to give it a try. Found out that it was a 60-foot waterfall. Who doesn't want to go to a 60-foot waterfall in the winter time? We wanted to go, so we started doing our research. We got on Google Earth. We checked the BLM. We found some BLM. I got Onyx hunt that I use for looking for private or public areas to go hiking in. And I mean, who doesn't want to go to a waterfall that's 60 foot and frozen? I mean, why not? The only problem is we found out right away that it is closed like in 2 weeks. So on April 1st or February 1st, excuse me, to April 30th, it's closed. You can't walk in there. No foot traffic into that area. So do your research on that. So the plan was to drive up to Laramie Peak Wildlife Habitat Management Area. We're gonna leave about 4 a.m. in the morning. And that'd put us there around 8 a.m. It would be daylight enough to kind of start looking around, see what's going on. Never been to this area before, ever. Just what we've read on the internet, and on the internet sounds completely, totally amazing. They do go into detail about going down on the canyon floor, brushy, hard, extremely difficult. Well, I don't know, we'll see. So the temperature on that day was looking pretty good. It was going to be in the low teens, upper 30s, and we decided, why not? Let's do it. We packed up all our stuff on Friday night to get ready for the trip early in the morning, and we headed off. We made sure that we had all of our essentials for the day hike, and away we went. So when we finally got up to Tunnel Road, we drove for approximately 4 miles on the pavement and then about 12 miles on dirt all the way to Vail Ranch Road. Just remember, when you're driving up there, do your research. It's private property most of the way on both sides, all the way until you're all the way up to the very end. Check out BLM, check out Laramie Peak Wildlife Habitat areas. Those would be good places to start. There's also some signs going up. Stop and read those to make sure that you're on the right roads. Usually an arrow, a white arrow, says you can drive on the road. If there's no marking, no nothing like that, I would definitely have a road map from Wyoming. But you guys make the call. Do your research before you go. So at 7:45, we started hitting snowdrifts on the main road that we were driving up on Vail Road. We hit a bunch of snowdrifts. Could not get through them. We maybe could have drove around them. I'm not going to go on private property to do that. So we backed up and took another road off to the right. Same general area, but not exactly where we wanted to be. We did stop there. The snowdrifts were across the fence line on the farmer's gate, so we stopped there. We parked and we started looking at the at the maps and Google Earth and all that, trying to find out what we wanted to do next. Do we want to go back home, or do we want to continue on? We decided to continue on because it was possible to still make it. It was, you know, around 8 o'clock in the morning. It was still okay. It was a lot further to walk, so we decided to give it a whirl. We had planned to make this 6-hour round trip to the falls and back, but we haven't even made it to our starting point. So we figured up it was going to now be 11 miles round trip, and it's still possible, but we needed to get moving pretty quick, go across following the road all the way to where we would have dropped off. We did not go the way we needed to go. It was too far. It would have been like 15 miles that way. So we went the shorter distance of the two. The temperatures were fairly cold. It's 25 degrees at 8:15 in the morning. We have a 30-mile-an-hour wind, putting the wind chill about 8 degrees in perspective. In Wheatland, it was about 38 degrees with 25-mile-an-hour wind. It was a lot warmer there, but it didn't matter. We were prepared for cold weather hiking because that's what we're doing. It's wintertime, and we are prepared to do that. So we headed out. So the walk after we crossed the fence, heading down the farm road, was very slick. It's a good thing that we had some ice cleats with us. The wind was continually blowing. We walked across many fields of cow pies. Just make sure you remember both sides of the road still private all the way up. But we arrived at the top of the canyon, and we were staring down the canyon, scouring for a place to go down. Where we were supposed to be was in the bottom of that canyon, and we were still at the top. So we finally found a place to descend down into the canyon. Wind was still whipping, blowing, crappy, and we continued on. The falls were located, as the crow flies, 1 mile away, straight across. But we had to go down to the bottom of the canyon, hang a right, drop all the way down to the next canyon, all the way to Duck Creek, and then hang a left and go back up another mile. So we headed over the hill. So we picked our spot and we dove off feeling very confident as we were staring across to the south side of the other mountain. It was bare and dry. It should be, it's on the south side. We were heading down the north side, not so bare and dry. Walking across down through the flat, before we dropped over the edge, we were walking on about 1.5 to 2 inches of hard packed snow. I was just almost enough to keep me on top of the snow before I would break in to about 6 to 8 inches of powder, which was also not good. The ground underneath was frozen solid. We were starting to descend down into the canyon. It was not fun. Slipping, sliding. At points we sat down, we slid to the next level. Needless to say, we were starting to get wet. We had not anticipated being soaked doing this. The canyon floor was just as bad. We ended up down on the canyon floor that had the rocks that had fallen off the hillsides, and we were having to walk through those crevices and with the big boulders underneath the snow very carefully. Our trekking poles, my trekking poles, held up very nicely, but they are dinged up pretty good, trying to check every step you took so you didn't twist an ankle and we didn't end up hurt or injured down into this canyon. The brush and the side hills that we had to cross was not fun either. When they said that this was a difficulty level of 5 in the summertime because of the brush and the rocks in the terrain, I think they meant it. Add in everything that we went through, I say it's a 6 or 7. But anyway, we kept on trekking down through that. We didn't slow down. We kept on going. Eye on the prize. So as we were walking down, continuing down the canyon, we started to see an opening down in the bottom. We could only hope that it was Duck Creek that we were gazing upon in the opening. After a quick little slide down of a frozen creek, and I like literally a slide down into the creek, we opened up into a beautiful area where Duck Creek and this little area is gorgeous. I can't even begin to tell how nice it looked. It was magnificent. The views, the sheer rock walls and cliffs, just beautiful down there. So we It was probably about 11:30 by then. We rested, we were tired, we were very tired. We were communicating back and forth how tired we were. And we decided we'd eat some lunch. We sat on a rock. The sun was poking through. It illuminated the whole little area that we were in. Those of you that have been there, you'll know once you hit that area, man, it's like, wow, you are really there. But we were super tired. We were physically just exhausted by this point. And then we heard together, my toes feels like they're on fire. It feels like they're on pins and needles. Holy crap. First thing running through our heads at this point in time was frostbite, frost nip, super cold. It's probably 28 degrees now. We still got this stupid wind we've been fighting all day. Immediately removed the wet clothes. Boot came off, and sure enough, soaking wet. Took second boot off. It's not really as wet, but it's still pretty wet. It is very cold outside. So we start running through our head. What are we going to do? We know we need to get everything dried out. So we pull out the wool socks, change them out, hang the other socks on the back of the backpack so they can start drying out in case we need them again. We did have plenty of clothes changed, so we could have done that as well. We had some plastic bags that we had put our food into, and we actually wrapped both the feet with the plastic bags and the socks to kind of hold some of the warmth in the best we could. We were still sitting in the sun, so it was still okay. But now, how in the heck did they get wet in the first place? That's what we need to really think about. We're prepared, but they're still wet. Well, this had to have happened when we were either busting through all the snow drifts because I don't have any gaiters on, or when I stepped in the creek, maybe I got in a little bit too deep. I don't know. We'll probably never know, but doesn't really matter. We now know we are wet. We know that after the feet are warming up, it's not probably frostbite. We've checked this out a lot while we're sitting there. Time's ticking by, but we need to know what we're gonna do now. Are we staying the night where we're at and walk out in the morning, or head out? We decide not to stay the night in the canyon. The wind is blowing at 35 miles an hour and it's still cold, and we want to get closer back to civilization in case this is severe. I know you're not supposed to walk on frostbite, but after warming the tissue up, we decided that we were fine, and we did take off because a rescue would take forever. So when you're in that area, remember that a rescue is going to take a little while. Make sure lots of people know where you're at, and don't do things like I did and get wet. So we filled up our water bottles and we headed back toward the creek or the falls, the frozen, whatever it was. But whoever left those ropes there, thank you very much. They were very well needed. We had to pull ourselves up out of that and then help each other on top of that to even get up there. It wasn't fun. But as we walked up through there, we made sure that we didn't step back in the water when we were crossing. And we stayed in our tracks so that we could eliminate some of the snow that could have been possibly falling into the tops of our boots. But anyway, just trying to stay dry at that point. We got all the way back up to the base of what we had just came down a couple hours earlier. And it was a very strenuous hike to the top. We had to use every rock, every bush, anything we could grab onto to make it back up this. Angela even threw the poles on her backpack and scrambled to the top, which made it a lot easier to get up there. I continued to use my trekking poles up there, but we took probably, I don't know, 30 breaks all the way up this thing, switchbacking back and forth. It was horrible. Wishing that we would have made the trail head and not made our own trail at that point. We finally made it back to the top of where we had started. We truly felt like we were idiots, but we were definitely accomplished idiots, because we had just conquered that in the winter time where everybody said that it was super hard. It was extremely hard. Went down through the top, back through the cow pies and all that stuff. At 5 p.m. we did finally arrive. We did not have to walk in the dark. It was about 26 degrees when we arrived at the truck. We still had a 25-mile-per-hour wind, so we were in the wind all day long from 8 o'clock in the morning until 5. So our short trip in and short trip out, just to let you know, hey, sometimes things change. And you do something that you probably shouldn't do that takes a lot of extra time. So be prepared when you're out there every freaking time. Because we could have stayed the night anywhere along that trail and we would have been just fine. We had our 10 essentials and we would have been just fine. We might have been a little cold and a little sore in the morning, but we would have been fine. So I want to say thank you for sticking this one out till the end. Hopefully it wasn't too long for you, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy it, hit the like button over on the other side. And we'll talk to you again next time. Thank you.